and the fact that she gravitated, from what I understand, right? She had a record player in the house, not much more. It was a record player, the piano. There were a couple. There was a Bob Dylan album. There was Leonard Cohen. So she definitely was, definitely fed, a lot of, these greats from the '60s. She probably had other albums too, and that just
I had some Herman's Hermits in there somewhere.
Yeah, maybe, right? Yeah. The Trogs, wow thing. But yeah, that just jumped out of my head. Sorry. but yeah, so and she just will probably added to the whole entire stew that's called Aurora and this amazing talent. Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Into the Music. My name is Greg, and that guy over there, well, he's Chris. And Chris usually feeds me songs, and then I react, and that's how this works here. And
Are you hungry for some serious food?
I am hungry for serious food. You're gonna give me some serious music tonight?
I am.
Okay.
I think it's serious. Now, okay.
No jackassery tonight, right? I can't be okay.
Jackassery? Is that?
Yeah.
What if your name was that? Jack, Mr. Assery.
Yeah, Mr. Assery. There's a telephone call for you.
Okay. Seriously. Okay. This is a song called. I'm just going to give you the title and then who does it. It's.
That's how it works.
It's by AURORA, we've covered.
Wow, another AURORA song. Cool, man.
Yeah. She's got lots of good stuff, and the name of the song is "Famous Blue Raincoat." Yeah, go give it a listen, and we'll talk about it after.
All right, cool.
It's 4 in the morning, the end of December. I'm writing you now just to see if you're better. In New York is cold, but I like where I'm living. There's music on Clinton Street all through the evening. I hear that you're building your little house deep in the desert. You're living for nothing now. I hope you're keeping some kind of record. Yes, and Jane came by with she said that you gave it to her at night when you planned to go clear. Did you ever go clear? The last time I saw you, you looked so much older. Famous blue raincoat was torn at the shoulder. You'd been to the stations to meet every train there, and you came back without Lily Marlene. You treated my woman to a flake of your life. And when she came back, she was nobody's wife. Yes, I see you there with a rose in your teeth. One more thin drip She sends her regards.
Sorry, I gotta bring that back. That violin solo was just beautiful, and and as he's playing that, she's dancing. Her stage presence is just off the charts, man. It's incredible. Let's see, go back a little bit more.
She sends her regards. Brother, my killer, what can I possibly say? Well, I guess that I miss you, I guess I forgive you. I'm glad that you stood in my way. If you ever come by here for well, your enemy sleeping, and his woman is free. Yes, and thanks for the trouble you took from her eyes. I thought it was there for good, so I never tried. Jane came by with the lock of your hair. She said that you gave it to her that night when you planned to go clear. Sincerely, Cohen.
Wow, that was just beautiful. That was beautiful. Yeah. Um, and it wasn't just her. It was the backup singers. It was the violin player. It was the arrangement. Um, it was her movement. You know, in addition to the singing, it was just everything. Um, that was really enjoyable. So I'm not that familiar with this Leonard Cohen song. So yeah, definitely looking forward to talking with Chris about this.
I'm back. So yeah, this is a pretty song. This was a great performance by her. What I loved, you know, I felt like that she never really. I actually wrote down, you know, doesn't try to overextend, like so many young singers often try to do. You know, again, you know, she's a young, still, you know, whatever she recorded this like 3 years ago.
Adding frills?
All like that stylized stuff and the frills, and just always having to kind of like belt it out, you know, and go high and then all over the place and stuff.
Which,
and
you know, to give it credit, though, sometimes that stuff works.
Well,
not always, but
sometimes it works. in her own way, she actually has done some of that.
She does have, has her like flights of, vocal flights sort of.
But but it's always almost like a sort of no frills kind of, the way she just goes up high and comes down. If she goes around it a bit, it's still real, and I say real because sometimes people put the effects, or it's sometimes like so it's like that's not real to me,
Jerry Lewis version.
Well, you know how the people just go like
all that song. This song is a very melancholy song, so
it really is, and yet she was
keep it low key.
And I think that's the challenge. Probably this is even more challenging for a singer and for Aurora to sing a song like this, where maybe the tendency is to belt it out and go like just bring it and soar it. I'm going to bring it to new heights. And in a way, she stayed within. Again, I don't know the song, but I would imagine that she was kind of staying true to the song to a certain point. And that might have been even more of a challenging feat for her as a vocalist, to really kind of, again, not overextend and really
sometimes I think
make
it's
it
hard
effective
to keep
within
the tone down.
I mean,
I don't know because I'm not really a singer, but I would imagine it is sort of, you're tempted to do certain things or add things of your own. She does make it her own, but she still keeps it in that certain confines.
Here's the thing too, right? Because he's telling a story. She is now in his performance, but she's telling a story, right? So if you're telling a story, I don't know, you're going to be keeping it kind of in a sort of tone where you're staying within that sort of. I wrote down like New York is cold, but I like where I'm living. I love that. I love that line. And it was coming from her, and I don't know, it was just so interesting, and I'm sorry, go ahead.
When you talk about how she doesn't add frills to it, I think the melody line is strong, so strong in parts of this song that you don't need to do that much more. Now, when I was reading about it, you remember the Leo Sayer song called "When I Need You"?
Yeah.
Now, in famous Blue Raincoat, when the words are, Jane came by with a lock of your hair, right? That's used. That melody line is used in Leo Sayer. When I need you, just close. All that stuff. So there was a legal issue between Leo Sayer and whoever owned the rights to Now, I think Leonard Cohen didn't make that big a deal about it, and it was found out that a musicologist had claimed that particular musical motif was in the public domain and could be traced back as far as Schubert. So, here's a legal thing and saying, well, wait a second, this is used way back when. And was interesting, but that musical motif, that series of notes is really, that to me doesn't need any. That part definitely doesn't need any frills, and it's got that lilting kind of thing going on.
I wish I would have said this before you said that, because what I was going to say, because right before you got into that, you were saying, well, there were certain parts, whatever, and I was going to say, but then I let you talk because that's what we do, right? We we try. No, I was going to say, I swear to God, I was going to say that except like for those parts where like Jane was mentioned, Jane was mentioned in a couple different verses. It might've been the chorus or what they call chorus or whatever. That was different. That all of a sudden there was a little bounce, there's a little bit of movement, a little bit more kind of, and that changed.
A little uplifting kind of.
Yeah. And so of course her vocals range kind of changed with that too. And there was a little bit more. So that's really interesting. And I know that song, when I need love. Yeah, no, wow. That's really.
I'm wondering, I'm sorry to cut you off there.
No, go ahead.
But I'm wondering, I know what it's about. Did you want to take a stab at what the lyrics mean, or do you want me to?
Before I get into that, one more thing about the performance, the music. I don't know if they're not a band, but the performers, everyone on that stage, they they brought it. I mean, there were the background singers. There was that kind of light but like really effective. There was one point where there was a violin player, and he kind of does this beautiful solo. I actually brought it back. It was gorgeous, and I think as he's playing, that's where Aurora, has that stage presence too. Where she's kind of moving and going in tandem with the violin solo and the background singers. That was just a group effort, and it was so effective, and it was so good. So just the whole entire performance, everyone, the presentation, the composition, just the way they composed that, the arrangement, that's the word. Yeah. Beginning to end, that was just so, well thought out, and, if she had a major hand saying, this is how I want it, then I mean, I don't know, just stamp her as like the most amazing performer ever, because I mean, that's just, that was just so again, effective. That's the word. So go ahead. So now let's get into the lyrics, because I really don't know. What the song's about.
It's kind of hard to tell without, and I didn't really know until I started looking into this. I got some kind of gist of it, but I did get the gist that this is about looks like it had been a love triangle, 2 guys and a girl. And so basically, the narrator's reminiscing about when, not reminiscing, but he's living on Clinton Street in New York City, and Leonard Cohen actually lived there. So he's talking about this guy, the other guy in this triangle, that he says, when last time I saw you, looked so much older. Your famous blue raincoat was torn at the shoulder. Apparently, Leonard Cohen had a famous raincoat too. Okay, so he just made it. The other guy have it apparently, and he mentions. He says, "You treated my woman to a flake of your life," and when she came back, she was nobody's wife. So apparently, she had a thing with this other guy he's writing a letter to. And but there's some ambiguity here as far as what it looks like the end result was.
She's not with the guy anymore, right? Because I sensed that, because I was trying to follow with Jane, and so I thought, well, Jane, I figured there was something like that, but then what was throwing me is that, well, she's not here anymore, or something like that, or she's not, and I feel like it sounded like she's not there anymore, and so I'm like, okay, so is this a triangle? I mean, not triangle, but anymore. I don't know. I just sensed that maybe, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure on that. But there's this ambiguity he feels towards him, the other guy, because he says, "What can I tell you, my brother, my killer? What can I possibly say? I guess that I miss you." So he has.
I wrote that down. I wrote down, "My brother, my killer." I'm like, what is that? Like,
oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, it's that. It's like.
That's what.
Also, when I was reading about it, it was kind of like a Cain and Abel thing, but I don't really see the exact parallel there, because Cain and Abel, I mean, once Cain is going to become Abel's killer, I don't think he felt too brotherly towards him at that point. But so he says, he's saying, "I guess that I miss you. I guess I forgive you." So there was that jealousy there. He wasn't like he wasn't happy about it, but he also said, "I'm glad you stood in my way." So maybe he's glad that maybe the narrator is glad that the other guy kind of interfered, because maybe it wouldn't have worked out with the narrator and this woman Jane. I don't know.
There were a couple times when he says something about that you were so clear, or you were clear.
Okay, I was just gonna get to that.
And so I'm like, yeah, okay.
I was reading about it,
and I'm saying, man, this song is not clear to me. Right. But I was really that jumped out at me. Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, here's the thing. This surprised me too, and this is only from looking at it today in preparation for this.
Okay.
That I didn't know what it meant to go clear, and because he said the lyrics are, Jane came by with a lock of your hair. She said that you gave it to her that night that you planned to go clear. Did you ever go clear? So I'm looking this up and I see that there's a reference to Scientology. And I'm thinking, maybe that's a Scientology thing. Sure enough, I looked up Scientology, and let me look up on my phone right here real quick. Here's the meaning of going clear in Scientology. Achieving the state of clear means a person has overcome the reactive mind and is in complete control of their analytical mind, according to L. Ron Hubbard in Dianetics, which is a book for Scientology.
Yep.
So I don't know what you think of Scientology. I think it's just a ridiculous repackaging of some old New Age BS. But apparently this other guy in this triangle was into that, and he was going to go clear. So he was going through some things of his own. Now, we both mentioned that we didn't really know what the song was about. I only know because I looked into it further.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to interpret some Leonard Cohen songs because, right, at face value and quickly, because, Leonard Cohen was this really serious poet, really serious. He was a poet.
Yeah.
He was a novelist before he was a musician. Quite an all-around guy with that stuff. And so his poetry, it's deep stuff, usually.
As poetry often is, right? I mean,
as opposed to, some
song
lyrics can be, or they can be kind of throwaway kind of things, you know. But of course, for poetry, you got limericks and stuff too. But I mean, most of it's very condensed language that packs a lot of meaning,
Yeah.
So that's so we're dealing with this really serious poet. He was really, really well-known poet, Canadian poet. And this song is written, some of the lines are in, this is a technical poetic term, amphibrax. It's a long syllable between two short syllables. So I was looking at the lyrics after I read about that. And I was like, yeah, sure enough, it does that. So it's got this staccato thing with a legato thing in between. Yeah. Which kind of gives it a certain cadence, Yeah. I have to listen to it again with that in mind. Yeah. But just to show that this is how this guy writes. He writes this stuff as poetry, not just as song.
And when you say the cadence, you're thinking more of Cohen's performance, more with the cadence, right? Or
she did it too. Well, no, it's in the language too. It's in how the words that are chosen. Yeah. Yeah. But she kept to that. Yeah, of course you can pronounce them in different ways, but
because I mean,
his inherent in the words for the most part.
Well, that's the thing, because his melodies were weren't so obvious to really sort of, like with certain songs, melody comes out, you just know what the melody is going to be, just driving the whole entire song through. Mm-hmm. And with Cohen songs where, you had to be really paying attention, like through his singing, through that kind of cadence, he was carving out what that melody was going to be. And that was another interesting thing too. It was really just hard to, she is strong on melody though. And if this one was kind of more, it wasn't as obvious, it was, and again, that's where those parts were about Jane. It changed. And I was like, oh, this is kind of interesting. This was really fascinating. Not only just the song, the performance, but then again, back to the song. And then Leonard Cohen wrote it. And then this whole discussion about the song, Cohen, and what it might, this is just, I
knew this
stuff.
I knew this discussion though, after I read more about it, I knew this discussion was going to be a little difficult for me, because it's like I have to put on my literary analysis hat, which I don't wear too often these days. And and because there's so many layers to what he writes, that it's not like approaching any kind of regular type of song.
We probably would.
I wonder if we do other songs of his, either by him or covers.
Yeah.
if we're going to run into that same issue, we probably will.
So one and those are going to be like hour-long sessions.
So feel free to edit the hell out of this thing, because I just kind of ramble. I hadn't really brought all my thoughts together on this.
No, I mean,
but I am certain that I like the song, and this was a great rendition.
Well, it's a balancing act. I mean, really, when you balance an act, but I mean, it kind of is. But it's like if you have a song that has so much behind it, you know, the writer himself, you know, the guy who wrote this song. I mean, it's Leonard Cohen, you know, and then again, what does it mean? You know, so you have to dive into that. Again, he writes poetry. His songs are like poems, and it's not easy to, you know, to take poems and sort of translate them into like lyrical songs, you know. Poems and lyrics usually, you know, only the real great ones can really do something like that. And so there was all that, you know, to kind of get into, you know, and the fact that she gravitated, you know, from what I understand, right, you know, she had a record player in the house, not much more, you know, it was a record player, the piano. There was a Bob Dylan album, there was Leonard Cohen, you know, so she definitely was, you know, definitely fed, you know, a lot of, you know, of like, you know, these greats from the 60s, you know. She probably had other albums too. And that just
had some Herman's Hermits in there somewhere.
Yeah, maybe, right? Yeah. You know, the Trogs, you know, wild thing. But yeah, that just jumped out of my head. Sorry. But yeah, so and she just will probably added to the whole entire stew that's called AURORA, and like, you know, this amazing talent. So that said, this was cool, man. You know, we had to do one eventually, you know, from Leonard Cohen. So I wonder if there's other Leonard Cohen songs that she's covered. This is the only one. So
I would imagine there's got to be at least one. There's so much stuff of his, and I would think, based on her choices, that's based on her, what attracts her. I would think that other songs of his would have attracted her as well.
She's done Bob Dylan too, so I mean, we got to check out.
What Bob Dylan has she done?
I don't know. I mean, you know, I guess if I paid attention to, I'm paying attention. There's so many you've seen all these comments. There's like hundreds of them, you know, and all the, it's no, but please keep on writing your comments, you know, because we're definitely learning, you know, and this is definitely.
She did a cover of Leopard Skin Pillbox Hat. I don't know.
That's a Bob Dylan song.
Yeah, but it's not one.
Well, you just pulled this one out. Yeah. Well, I guess I was a Bob Dylan fan, but I guess not, because I don't know that song. All right. So anyway, let me take us out here and say, Chris, this was good. It was great. It was fun. It was really interesting. And I'm so glad you actually brought all that that information out, man. You know,
okay. I don't know.
We all benefit from that. No, we all benefit from that. Even if I wind up editing some of it, but I'm going to keep the real good stuff, and a lot of it is good. And so that
I leave it to your judgment. You know that.
Thank you. And everyone out there, really hope you enjoyed this episode. And if you did, you may want to hit the like button. And if you haven't yet subscribed, you know, hey, come on, let's go. We're moving up. And that said, over that, we're actually at 1,100, right? We're moving up, you know, at our own pace. And then that said, we'll see everyone on the next episode of Into the Music.
See you all.